I want you to change the world, and don't think that this is going to happen peacefully or you can do it alone. We need to kill the rich. You get out there, you use your weapons, and you rip Washington apart. You hunt down the billionaires, the bank bosses, the CEOs, the scumbags and the liars, the governors, the lobbyists, the senators, because they're all the same, and you hang them.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's April 26, 2018. I'm Eric. Here I am at technologyreview.com. Researchers are keeping pig brains alive outside the body. Now, can you just imagine dying, your body dying, having some fucking asshole cut your head open and keep your brain living? I mean, your brain is what you are. It's who you are. Outside the body, it brings pictures of Johnny Got His Gun to mind. Where the man in, I believe it was World War I, I'm not 100% on that one, got his arms, legs blown off and lost his sight and hearing all at the same time. You might recall Metallica's song One is all about that particular subject. Now, if you're familiar with that particular story, then you know that they kept a man alive, even though he couldn't hear, even though he couldn't see, even though he couldn't, he didn't have arms or legs. They kept him in a bed, and I can just imagine that that's exactly what that would be like, having your brain alive outside of your fucking body. Let's get into it. In a step that could change the definition of death, researchers have restored circulation to the brains of decapitated pigs and kept the reanimated organs alive for as long as 36 hours. The feat offers scientists a new way to study intact brains in the lab in stunning detail. But it also inaugurates a bizarre new possibility in life extension. Should human brains ever be kept on life support outside the body? The work was described on March 28th at a meeting held at the National Institutes of Health and to investigate ethical issues arising as U.S. Neuroscience Centers explores the limits of brain science. During the event, Yale University neurologist Needham Sutton disclosed that a team he leads had experimented on between 100 and 200 pig brains obtained from a slaughterhouse, restoring their circulation using a system of pumps, heaters, and bags of artificial blood warmed to body temperature. Look, honey, your mama. Anyway. There is no evidence that the disembodied pig brains regain consciousness. However, in what Sutton termed a mind-boggling and unexpected result, billions of individual cells in the brains were found to be healthy and capable of normal activity. Reached by the telephone yesterday, Sutton declined to elaborate, saying he had submitted the results for publication in a scholarly journal and had not intended for his remarks to become public. What a faggot. Since last spring, however, a widening circle of scientists and bioethicists have been buzzing about the Yale research, which involves a breakthrough in restoring microcirculation, the flow of oxygen, to small blood vessels, including those deep in the brain. These brains may be damaged, but if the cells are alive, it's a living organ, says Steve Hyman, Director of Psychiatric Research at the Broad Institute in Cambridge, Massachusetts, who was among those briefed in or on the work. It's at the extreme of technical know-how, but not that different from preserving a kidney. It's a lot different than preserving a kidney. I mean, again, everything you are is stored in your brain. I mean, can you imagine having consciousness without a fucking body? Can you imagine what kind of prison they can put your soul into? Hyman says the similarity to techniques for preserving organs like hearts or lungs for transplant could cause some to mistakenly view the technology as a way to avoid death. It may come to the point that instead of people saying, "freeze my brain," they say, "hook me up and find me a body." Such hopes are misplaced, at least for now. Transplanting a brain into a new body is not remotely possible, according to Hyman. It probably is possible. I mean, it probably really fucking is possible. They haven't mastered it yet, but I bet they're working on it. Brain in a bucket. The Yale system, called BrainX, involves connecting a brain to a closed loop of tubes and reservoirs that circulate a red perfusion fluid which is able to carry oxygen to the brainstem and cerebellar artery. Oh, maybe that's not cerebral artery. And areas deep in the center of the brain. In his presentation to the NIH officials and ethics experts, Seston said the technique was likely to work on any species, including primates. This is probably not unique to pigs, he said. And they say, I think a lot of people are going to start going to slaughterhouses to get heads and figure it out. Maybe. I mean, there's people out there with labs in their attics or in their big-ass walk-in closets or whatever, and they're fucking with genetics and all kinds of shit, you know, under the radar, and who knows what can come of that. The Yale researchers who began work on the technique about 4 years ago are seeking NIH funding for it, acted out of a desire to construct a comprehensive atlas of connections between human brain cells. I don't think these people need to know that much about our brains. I really don't. I mean, they already know that they can remotely change a person's mood and among other things. Some of these new connections probably span large regions of the brain and would thus be traced more easily in a complete intact organ. Seston acknowledged that surgeons at Yale had already asked him if the brain-preserving technology could have medical uses. Disembodied human brains, he said, could become guinea pigs for testing exotic cancer cures and speculative Alzheimer's treatments too dangerous to try on the living. If they do that to the brain, it's living. It's living. That brain is everything that person was. I mean, the setup, jokingly dubbed the brain in a bucket, would quickly raise serious ethical and legal questions if it were tried on a human. For instance, if a person's brain were reanimated outside the body, would that person awake in what would amount to be a ultimate sensory deprivation chamber without ears, eyes, or a way to communicate? Again, it sounds just like that poor bastard from that movie, Johnny Got His Gun. I think that was the name of it. I know that's the name of the book. Okay. Johnny Got His Gun. You just need to look it up. Maybe watch the YouTube vid or the one video, and you'll understand what I'm getting at here. Would someone retain memories and identity or legal rights? Could researchers ethically dissect or dispose of such a brain? And the answer is no. You cannot ethically dissect or dispose of a living fucking brain. It's all that person was. And just because they don't have a body anymore doesn't mean you should be going fucking with their fucking with them. Also, because of federal safety regulations, or because safety regulations apply to people, not dead tissues, it is uncertain whether the U.S. Food and Drug Administration would have any say over whether scientists could attempt such a reanimation procedure. I mean, I think they preserved Albert Einstein's brain. And probably other really, really smart motherfuckers. And I bet if they keep going and going with this, they end up getting those brains, reanimating them, and hacking them for their knowledge. There are going to be a lot of weird questions, even if it isn't a brain in a box, said an advisor to the NIH who didn't wish to speak on the record. I think a lot of people are going to start going to slaughterhouses to get heads and figure it out. And we can figure it out. We can. There's people out there who figured out how to produce pharmaceuticals. And I'm one of them. I know how to make pills. I know how to break it all down, to separate all the alkaloids from the plant that you use. I know how to do all that shit. It's just really a matter of knowing what chemicals disintegrate the fats of the plant and stuff like that. Sessions said he would be concerned about how the technology would be received by the public and by his peers. People are fascinated. We have to be careful how fascinated, he said. You motherfuckers started, it ain't gonna... Once the genie is out of the bottle, the motherfucker ain't going back in. Comatose state. It's well known that a comatose brain can be kept alive for at least decades. That is the case with brain-dead people whose families elect to keep them attached to ventilation machines. Less well explored are artificial means of maintaining brain or brain wholly separated from its body. There have been previous attempts, including a 1993 report involving rodents, but Seston's team is the first to achieve it with a large mammal without using cold temperatures and with such promising results. At first, the Yale group was uncertain if an ex vivo brain, or vivo, not really sure how, to which circulation was restored would regain consciousness. To answer that question, the scientists checked for signs of complex activity in the pig's brain or brains using a version of EEG or electrodes placed on the brain surface. These can pick up electrical waves reflecting broad brain activity, indicating thoughts and sensations. Initially, Seston said, they believed that, or they had found such signals, generating both alarm and excitement in the lab, but they later determined that those signals were artifacts created by nearby equipment. Bullshit. 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 I call bullshit. I say that he's lying, and I say that they were able to find that complex brain activity that they were talking about. Seston now says the organs produce a flat brain wave equivalent to a comatose state, although the tissue itself looks surprisingly great. He's lying. And once it's dissected, the cells produce normal seeming pattern. The lack of wider electrical activity could be irreversible if it is due to damage and cell death. The pig's brains were attached to the BrainX device roughly 4 hours after the animals were decapitated. However, it could also be due to chemicals the Yale team added to the blood replacement and to prevent swelling, which also severely dampened the activity of neurons. You have to understand that we have so many channel blockers in our solution, Seston told the NIH. This is probably the explanation why we don't get any signal. Seston told the NIH it is conceivable that the brains could be kept alive indefinitely and that steps could be attempted to restore awareness. I mean, do you want awareness restored to your brain if you don't have a fucking body? I mean, these people play with shit that they shouldn't be playing with. Yeah, you know, I suppose in the future, if there is even a future, it would be nice to die, have your fucking brain taken out and put in another body, maybe the body of somebody whose brain couldn't be restored. I don't know. But right now, I see this as a very fucking bad thing. I mean, very bad. He said his team had elected not to attempt either because this is uncharted territory. The motherfucker is lying. Scientists love uncharted territory. Humans love uncharted territory. No. They know. They fucking know. And they're lying. The animal brain is not aware of anything. I am very confident of that. Seston said, although he expressed concern over how the technique might be used by others in the future. Hypothetically, somebody takes this technology, makes it better, and restores someone's brain activity. That is restoring a human being. If that person has memory, I would be freaking out completely. Brain experiments. This is a long-ass video. Consciousness isn't necessary for the type of experiments on brain connections that scientists hope to carry out on living ex vivo brains. The EEG brain activity is a flat line, but a lot of other things keep on ticking, says Anna Devar, a neuroscientist at the University of California, San Diego, who is familiar with the Yale project. Dever thinks the ability to work on intact living brains would be very nice for scientists working to build a brain atlas. The whole question of death is a gray zone, she says. But we need to remember the isolated brain is not the same as other organs, and we need to treat it with the same level of respect that we give to an animal. Today, in the journal Nature, 17 neuroscientists and bioethicists, including Seston, published an editorial arguing that experiments on human brain tissue may require special protections and rules. No shit. They identified 3 categories of brain surrogates that provoke new concerns. These include brain organoids, blobs of nerve tissue, and blobs of nerve tissue the size of a rice grain, human animal chimeras, and ex vivo human brain tissue, such as chunks of brain removed during surgery. They went on to suggest a variety of ethical safety measures, such as drugging animals that possess human brain cells so they stay in a comatose-like brain state. Doesn't sound very ethical to me. Now, how is that fucking ethical? Injecting human brains into any other animal, that sounds exactly like what the fucking Anunnaki did to us. Exactly. Anyway, Hyman, who also signed the letter, says he did so reluctantly because he thinks most of the scenarios are exaggerated or unlikely. It's hardly possible a tiny brain organoid will feel or think anything, he says. And he's probably right. I mean, a little chunk of your brain, there's probably not much there, but they can still use it to create a new brain, right? I mean, they have this technology now that they can fucking 3D print organs. What do they need? What do they need pig brains for, or human brains, when they can just print the shit up? At least they may not be able to print the brain, but you see where I'm getting at here. The one type of research he thinks may call for quick action to set up rules of the world is Seston's unpublished brain preservation technique, which the Nature editorial did not discuss. If people want to keep human brains alive post-mortem, that is a more pressing and realistic problem, says Hyman. Given that it is possible with a pig brain, there should be guidelines for human tissue. Yeah. And this article was written by Antonio Regalado, and he is a senior editor for biomedicine at MIT. Thought I'd share this with you because I can't think of a worse fate than that. I mean, think about it. You die, you owe the state some money or some prison time, and bam, they got you. They got your brains. They reanimate it. They fucking and put you in a brain prison. This is why we should kill the state before the state kills us and puts us in a brain prison. Anyway, have a good day, everyone.